Ben Shapiro?
Hey, how's it going, Adam?
Hey, Ben. Love me some Ben Shapiro. Man, I love listening to you guys on the Morning Answer.
Well, right back at you, obviously.
It's benshapiro.com is where you can go for any Ben Shapiro information you want. And I like Ben because Ben, unlike a lot of other folks from the right, has some serious teeth, but also backs it up with a world-class education. But Dr. Drew was...
What, Adam? Education matters? What? What?
When it comes to Mr. Ben Shapiro, I do believe his education, not so much that he draws on his education, but that he draws on the skills to prepare.
Yes, whatever.
For a discussion.
It's still about education. It's about analytic thinking. And
he went to Harvard
yes.
Law. My kids ain't going to Harvard Law. They're going to Valley Law. Anyway, Ben, Dr. Drew was talking about the spirited debate you had on his HLN show, and that's why we called you up.
Yeah, spirited debate. That's one way to put it. Sure, it was fun. I mean, it was fun until it crossed the line that should not be crossed on television or in any political debate. When people start grabbing each other by the neck and threatening to put them in an ambulance, that's actually a problem. And let's put it this way: if it had been me doing that to Zoey Tur, I would have spent the night in jail for a possible hate crime.
Interesting.
And thus, yesterday I spent a fair bit of the morning down at the Hollywood police station filing a battery charge.
Wow. Well, now Drew's rolling his eyes because he says that was over the line.
Oh, that's over the line. So Dr. Drew, it wasn't over the line when one of your guests grabbed me by the neck and threatened to put me in an ambulance. What was over the line is me doing something about it. By the way, your same guest also said as he was walking out, as I'm sure your producers made you aware, I'll meet you in the parking lot, and then later tweeted that he wanted to curb stomp me. And for those who don't know what curb stomping is, that's where you put somebody's teeth on a curb and stomp on the back of their head. So, that does not fall into the realm of decent political conversation.
Well, let me say this, Ben. I don't like things being blown out of proportion, but the tweeting I'm going to curb stomp you or let's settle this in the parking lot off the air, which I can't substantiate, but I sure can with the tweet, that is a little further than what you were saying, Dr. Drew.
I didn't know about that, but either of those things, frankly. But I got tweets like that all weekend. All weekend. So, shall I file reports on every person that threatened me on Twitter?
It depends. Do those people grab you by the neck and threaten you on national television as well?
Well, Drew doesn't look at it as grab by the neck.
Let's get the footage.
He looked as more of hand on the shoulder, not in a loving way.
It was a love tap. It was a love tap, I say. So, but Dr. Drew, let me put it this way: if I had done that to a transgender gentleman or woman, whatever you prefer this time, how long would I have lasted on your network? Approximately 10 seconds, 5 seconds.
I think that's a very valid point, Drew, which is...
No, it was the exact same...
No. Ben, first off, Drew's not the enemy, but I will say this. If a heterosexual, God-fearing, straight guy said something to either gay, lesbian, transgendered, or whatever that even implied violence against that person would probably be blackballed from this town.
Career over.
Career over. Think about that. At least admit that part, Drew.
They're being attacked, but I'm not sure which attack is worse. Because this stuff.
True. What world are you living in? What time is it?
I would have, had I not seen what I've seen the last several days on Twitter, I would absolutely have agreed with you. But now I'm realizing it goes on both sides. Frankly.
No, it goes on both sides. One side's prosecuted, the other side is let off the hook.
Let's see if we have the...
Hold on a second. Drew, I want to make this point clear, and I want you to sign off on this.
I'm going to sign off. There is a reverse McCarthyism going on that's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
The point is Jews, Ben Shapiro, used to be on the endangered species list. Now they're doing so well, even though they're a minority, and even though they're killed routinely across the world, they're not on the endangered species list anymore.
Right.
So a transgendered person can put their hands on a Jewish person, and there are no big repercussions in terms of society, in terms of working in Los Angeles.
In terms of this McCarthyism.
If a straight Jewish guy put his hands on a transgendered person and said some words that could have been threatening, that person would be unemployable in this town.
There would be a McCarthy-esque sort of attack on their employee.
That is not a two-way street. That's a one-way street. Ben, do you think you would have been able to keep your job doing morning radio if you'd reverse the situation?
Oh, you got to be kidding me. I mean, here's the way that it works. If you're part of the designated victims list, then it almost doesn't matter what you do to a certain point. You're going to be designated the victim no matter what. If you are not on the designated victims list, then you won't be. And it really is that simple.
Yes. Oh, well, listen, I've said many times, Spike Lee tweeted out what he thought was the home address of, what's his name? The guy,
George Zimmerman.
George Zimmerman.
Yeah, it was Karen's address, yeah.
Spike Lee, when the guy had a bounty on his head from like the new Black Panthers or whatever, literally a bounty on his head, Spike Lee, while the guy had a bounty on his head, tweeted out his thing.
Okay.
And I said to some of my liberal friends, doesn't that bother you? You think something should be done with Spike Lee? And they said, tweeting doesn't really count. I said, oh, really? Would it work the other way? Would it work in the media? What would we do if it was the other way around? Do you know what I mean? If there was a black guy who was in hiding and there's a bounty on his head from the Klan and Tom Selleck tweeted out what he thought was his home address, would Tom Selleck be employable in this town?
No, there's a McCarthy-esque kind of thing going on.
It's a McCarthyism that's going one direction.
Right. It's using a claim of a certain position to affect people's employability.
No, but it's also what I've explained many times is a serious left-leaning bias toward the left in terms of the media, because the media should have torn Spike Lee a new asshole. Instead, it was basically forgotten and moved on upon. They didn't do anything about it. There's no judgment coming from the Huffington Post or CNN. It is the media.
No, it isn't, because
of course it's the media.
No, it's the social media. It has to catch a wind, or
how does it catch wind if no one's ever heard of it? There was a guy that was just gunned down in Garden Grove or Hawthorne or whatever, just shot 1,000 times. It didn't bring nothing. If the media doesn't get hold of it, then nothing happens.
Media got hold of it. It didn't catch it.
The media didn't get hold of it.
What do you think the media's goal is?
The media has a left-wing agenda.
What's their goal? What's their job?
Agitate.
No. What's their job?
Their job is to inflate. Well, what they want is ratings.
No. Yeah. Get eyes.
They want eyes. They want eyes.
Period.
Right.
That's their job. Period.
That's right.
Period.
Right.
No, hold on, not period. They want eyes so long as it fits with their agenda.
No.
Okay, this idea that you can't have two, the idea that you can't have two agendas is silly.
No,
of course
no.
You can't.
No,
you
you have to catch eyes.
And you can also push your agenda at the same time.
No, catch eyes. That's
I agree. I think it's an agenda with eyes. And listen, Dr.
Drew, that's absurd. That's absurd. I mean, there's so many stories across the country that would garner tremendous eyes that the media ignore if they don't feel that it's in their interest, in favor of stories that do garner eyes and happen to be their interest. There's always a selection bias. I mean, you'd admit that everybody in the world has a selection bias as to what they want to see and what they don't want to see. I mean, this is Psychology 101.
Right.
And this is true of the members of the media also, who are also left-leaning and prefer to see what they want to see. So there are certain stories they find interesting, and they'll pick the stories that they find more interesting over the stories they find less interesting. And it's the stories they personally find interesting, not the stories that have quote-unquote general interest. They're not focus grouping what stories they should cover.
I distree so strongly, because I'm in the middle of all that. I see how it gets done.
Please.
Can
I ask you this, Drew?
Yeah.
All right.
Not that there aren't left-leaning people in the media. I'm not saying that at all.
No.
I'm saying that they are trying to catch.
Okay, let me ask you this. Gary, get the footage of the guy getting gunned down that I was talking about before.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Well, hold on.
No, I want to ask you.
Yeah.
Is this something that you've seen on the news or has been discussed in the media?
The shooting?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Read
in the paper, saw in the media. Couldn't get any traction. Could not get social media into it. Could not get anybody interested in it.
Couldn't get traction with other...
Because you play it and your ratings go down, you're not going to play it again.
No.
That's it.
No. This is look, Ferguson. They made traction for Ferguson. They whipped up traction for Ferguson. They kept beating the drum.
If no one was interested in it, you think they would have kept doing it?
Dr. Drew, wait a second. I mean, so Fox News gets better ratings than CNN or CNN Headline News virtually every night, and they cover a completely different set of stories. Yeah. I mean, if you didn't actually watch the news, both channels, you would think you're living in two separate worlds.
Right.
I mean, there are stories that Huffington Post covers that Drudge Report will never touch, and vice versa. There's no selection bias. Everybody's just covering the same thing. That's not true.
No, what you're talking.
And by the way, if you wanted, I'm going to agree with Ben here, which is If Fox News is kicking the shit out of CNN in ratings, and all you want is ratings and eyeballs, then why isn't CNN just covering what Fox News covers and getting better ratings?
I would argue that they see themselves as
as
breaking news.
No, and as someone who wants ratings.
Yeah, but they're relying it on breaking news and not on just commentary.
So then you're confirming the point, Dr. Drew. If they have a second agenda, which is to break news, then they have a selection bias.
No, I'm not saying there wasn't a selection bias. There is a selection bias.
Listen,
and there's a culture and there's an identity of who they are and stuff, all that stuff too.
So in other words, you just conflicted with your own point, which is that their sole and only goal is to gain ratings, which is not true. They have another agenda.
Well, I'm saying there's a culture, and that I'm not saying that culture is leaning one way, or people talk about, you got to cover this way or that way. Just how are we going to tell a story and get people interested in it? Anyway, let's play the thing that
let's play Dr. Drew saying, look, that story where the guys were gunned down in where it was Hawthorne, Gardena, wherever it was. It didn't get much traction at all. Somebody tweeted me this story. I didn't hear
He was
anything.
in the paper. I read about the paper.
It's in the paper. No one even. Of course, everything's in the paper. There's a fish count off of Santa Monica Pier that's in the paper. That's not Ferguson, you idiot. All right, let's see, Ben. We'll watch the clip here and see how aggressive this looks.
Yeah. But in terms of the science behind gender dysphoria, you're very familiar with that, Zoe.
Very familiar.
It's not about the chromosomes within our
both know
nuclei. Yeah, go ahead.
Chromosomes don't necessarily mean you're male or female.
Gender.
With gender
identity. Go ahead. No,
but even so, you have a thing like Klinefelter's syndrome. So you don't know what you're talking about. You're not educated on genetics.
Would you like to discuss the genetics? Or
no.
What are your genetics?
So I'd stay away from the genetics and back to the brain scans.
You cut that out now, or you'll go home in an ambulance.
Yeah, that seems mildly inappropriate for a political discussion.
No, I know. Well, but wait. To be fair, you're actually being.
Hey guys,
all right.
And by the way, there's a 270-pound man sitting next to him that would help me out if I needed to jump in the middle of that.
Who's that? Look, Drew, that was a little more than what you said.
Really? Okay.
Well, I'll tell you why. Because he didn't try to choke him, but he put his hand on him.
It's not the throat, it's the neck.
He put his hand around the back of the neck in a you're not going anywhere kind of move. It wasn't hand on the shoulder, let me coach you up. It was a little bit of a hook move.
Okay.
It was a little bit of a pull in, and it was a little bit of listen, which is more of a mafia threat than it is I'm choking you.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's
a threat.
It's a threat with a sort of hook hand, like you're not going anywhere. He put his hand around and sort of pulled him in a little. I'm not Drew, don't give me the puss. What I'm saying is there's hand on the shoulder. Hey, listen. And then there's, hey, listen to me.
Yeah, it's different. Yeah.
Bad things are going to happen to your
Hold on.
business. That's what it felt like to me.
If it were not out of the ordinary, would it have even made any news, Dr. Drew? If this were just a normal political conversation in which people acted completely normally, I mean, listen, you're on headline news, okay? You're on the channel that has Nancy Grace on it.
Yeah, we are not having political discussion on my show. That is, if somebody told you that was what you're coming on for, you got that way wrong.
Well, then you ought to talk to your producers.
So
because
we're talking about stories that affect human behavior, that people are interested in, that are sort of dramatic, and we're trying to understand them. And that this is a dramatic story about a human being. It's Caitlyn Jenner, and we're trying to understand it.
All right,
I understand that. It's also okay. So. Look, first of all, it's a 5-on-1, which is fine. I consented to that, and I'm perfectly fine with that. It makes it kind of fair. Okay, as far as this person who's sitting next to me grabbing me, obviously this was newsworthy, as you say. Why would people cover it, Dr. Drew? They don't have an agenda. If it's newsworthy, it's newsworthy.
It was bizarre to me that. Did you pump it out there? Because it was bizarre to me that it caught on. We didn't. Did you push it out?
Did I push it out? I mean, I made Breitbart News, which is my outlet. They cover it.
Okay, so there it is. So there it is. Okay, so all right, that's why it went out there.
It happened on national television, Dr. Drew. Okay, if you want to make the case that nobody watches your show, that's fine, but that's not the point. Okay, the idea here is that if you do something that's out of the ordinary, again, as you say, people catch on to things. If it meant nothing, it would have just gone away. It didn't just go away because someone acted abnormally, and the person who acted abnormally was the person who threatened to put someone in an ambulance on national television.
Well, here's what I will say, Ben Shapiro, and then we're going to have to let you go because we're trying to bring this baby home. I will say this. I am completely and 100% not even convinced. I know without any shadow of a doubt that if, and by the way, this pilot, screwing up his name, Zoey.
Yeah.
Zoey looked like a pretty well-built individual.
No, she'd been in the military and stuff. So
yeah, and so if a person, let's say Ben Shapiro had that build, and he put his hand around the neck of the person, kind of pulled him in and said, "Hey, you're going to end up in an ambulance," that would have been a hate crime right then and there, and he would have lost his job. That's what I can tell you. That much I certainly agree with Ben Shapiro on. Ben, where do we find you again? Gary, I got.
Well, you can see me on Dr. Drew if Dr. Drew will have me on again after this one, and and you can see me on Breitbart News, which is where I'm senior editor.
And you can go to benjaminshapiro.com as well. Thank you, my friend. I hope to see you soon on your radio program, which I enjoy very much. TheraBreath, baby.
Oh, I love